This is GTV. Simply great. Throughout the years, games have come and games have gone. Our favorites stay with us and live on as special, important moments in our lives. The greatest ones go on to be a cornerstone of gaming history, and in certain cases, become a cultural phenomenon. This is the story of one such game, the apex of the 8-bit era. Stick around. This is the story of the greatest video game ever made.
Super Mario Brothers!
On October 23rd, 1988, Nintendo of Japan released Super Mario Bros. 3 to an eager and receptive public. The game was not only meant to be Mario's newest, biggest, and most exciting adventure, but the game was meant to represent the culmination of the previous 5 years that Nintendo had spent building its reputation, and the game would cement their legacy for all time. Time moves fast in the world of gaming, and since the debut of the family computer in Japan on July 15, 1983, a deluge of games from Nintendo and others entered the market. This led to a boom in Japan that would spill over into America, with Nintendo and the American family computer, known as the NES, leading the way. In Japan, and in the West as well, one game took the position as the gold standard of gaming: Super Mario Bros. This game checked all the right boxes of being an exciting game with marketable characters that was also a perfect fit for a home video game experience you couldn't get anywhere else. Super Mario Bros. Was released in Japan on September 13, 1985. At the time, Nintendo and the game's producer, Shigeru Miyamoto, intended Super Mario Bros. To be a final farewell for cartridge games on the family computer, as the company was preparing for the release of the family computer disk system, which would come less than 6 months later. At the time, game cartridges had reached a ceiling. The memory size of a game ROM couldn't be increased, at least not without great expense. As well, a shortage of components used in family computer and NES cartridges was predicted to hit hard for the foreseeable future. It made sense then to move development to discs, which were cheaper to produce and held more memory space than cartridges at the time. With Super Mario Bros., Nintendo had felt that nothing more was possible on cartridge, and many of the games released in 1986 were only available on disc. Super Mario Bros. Would be reissued on a disc as well, and its sequel, Super Mario Bros. 2, would also become a disc system exclusive. But a funny thing happened over the course of 1986 and 1987. The price of cartridge ROMs fell, and available memory size grew larger than what was possible on a disc. Also, the disc system didn't catch on as well as Nintendo had hoped, with only about 25% of family computer owners having one. Piracy was also a concern, as discs were much easier to illegally copy than cartridges. With these factors in mind, Nintendo de-emphasized the disc system, though they did not discontinue it, and started to release marquee games on cartridges once more, one of which would be Super Mario Bros. 3. The initial development of Super Mario Bros. 3 began not long after Super Mario Bros. 2 was completed. The main creative hands involved in the game would be Shigeru Miyamoto as producer, Takashi Tezuka as director and main artist, and Koji Kondo as composer. The complete team would involve 10 people, and though led by Miyamoto, the members of the team were given equal status in contribution to the game and input on the game's direction. During the time that Super Mario Bros. 3 was in development, Nintendo's position as the market leader in Japan became threatened. In 1987, NEC and Hudson Soft released the PC Engine, which began to outsell the family computer within its first year of release. In 1988, Sega announced the 16-bit Mega Drive, which would see release a few days after Super Mario Bros. 3. Nintendo was working on its own 16-bit machine, the Super Famicom, but had not yet gone public with it. With Super Mario Bros. 3, the goal became very clear: create the greatest, high-quality 8-bit game possible before the family computer gets replaced and abandoned by the next generation of games and hardware. Completing Super Mario Bros. 3 took over 2 years. New ideas were introduced and implemented. Others that weren't working were thrown out. Oftentimes, weeks of work would be undone as Miyamoto would add new elements and mold the game into its final form that we all know. It was decided early on that a game with new visuals and challenges needed to be made to differentiate the third Mario game from the previous two. The visual style of the game would change completely. Mario would get a redesign. Distinct worlds with separate geographies and climates would become part of the game, unlike Super Mario Bros., which had all of its stages look mostly the same. There would also be a world map to tell you where you are and where you're going. In addition to the stages, existing enemy designs were overhauled and new ones were added. Original ideas such as an isometric perspective and Mario turning into a centaur never made the cut, but many original and memorable ideas did. There would be unique power-ups, bonuses, and secrets that would make exploring the game's stages more exciting and rewarding. The Magic Mushroom and Fire Flower would remain and be complemented with a new power-up, the Super Leaf. This item gave Mario a raccoon's tail and ears and allowed him to fly for short distances, if he could charge up his running power meter. On top of that, Mario had a few suits he could try on for even more abilities. The frog suit let Mario swim in water faster and easier. The Hammer Brothers suit let Mario throw hammers in the air to attack enemies above. And the Tanuki suit. This power-up was mostly similar to the Leaf, but also gave Mario the power to turn into a statue for momentary invincibility. On top of that, warp whistles, Jugem clouds, and hammers could aid your advancement on the world map, while the P-Wing gave you unlimited flight. At several points on the game's world map, there were different prize areas. Some gave Mario a power-up straight away, while others required Mario to earn items or one-ups through games of chance. Some of these would be secretly hidden and only accessible in certain ways as well. The end of each stage also gave Mario a card with one of three icons: a Fire Flower, a Magic Mushroom, or a Superstar. Collecting any combination of the three gave Mario a 1-up, 3 mushrooms gave a 2-up, 3 Fire Flowers gave a 3-up, and 3 stars gave a 5-up. In 2-player games, Mario and Luigi would interact on the world map together, so the design team added a bonus minigame if the two would meet on the same space on the map at the same time. Mario and Luigi would engage in a battle version of Mario Bros. One player could steal the other's 1-up cards, and the winner of the battle would gain control of the next turn. The music would also get an overhaul, as composer Koji Kondo tried his best to create original tracks that set the right mood, but still felt like part of the Super Mario experience. Over the years, Kondo has admitted that his most challenging work was composing the soundtrack to Super Mario Bros. 3. The music from the first Super Mario Bros. Was so iconic and memorable that trying to not create something too similar or too different was a huge challenge. In the end, the game had mostly original music, with a few callbacks to the original game. Each world map had its own music, and multiple overworld, underworld, underwater, airship, and bonus stage themes made it to the final game. On the technical side, returning to cartridge gave the team more memory space to make a much bigger game. Nintendo made use of memory management controllers, special chips that enhanced the power of the original hardware. The one specifically used was an MMC3, which allows the game to have a split screen with the gameplay field on the larger top part and the score, timer, and other information on the bottom. It also allowed for multi-directional scrolling. The final size of the game was 3 megabits. For comparison's sake, Super Mario Bros. Was 256 kilobits, meaning Super Mario Bros. 3 was 12 times larger in memory size. The team had worked diligently for over 2 years, and in summer 1988, the first public previews of Super Mario Bros. 3 started to appear, with a planned release for October 1988. Just before the debut of the game, Nintendo released the soundtrack to Super Mario Bros. 3 as a slight preview of what fans should expect. On October 23, 1988, Super Mario Bros. 3 was released in Japan. Famitsu magazine gave the game a Platinum Award with a score of 35 out of 40. Family Computer magazine gave the game a score of 26 2/3 points out of 30. As a result of the Mario Bros. Minigame in Super Mario Bros. 3, there was a resurgence in the original 1983 arcade game's popularity, which was greeted with a special remake of that game called Kaitekita Mario Bros., meaning in English, The Return of Mario Bros. This game was available only at Family Computer disc writer machines, starting on November 30th, 1988. Kaite Kita Mario Brothers was a cross-promotion with food manufacturer Nagatanien. After some stages, advertisements for ochazuke, furikake, and fried rice would appear. Prior to Super Mario Bros. 3, Nagatanien worked with Nintendo on Mario-branded food for kids. That same month, Super Mario Bros. 3 would be shown running alongside Super Mario Bros. 4 on a special prototype family computer that was never released, showing that Nintendo was serious about the move to 16-bit, and that Super Mario Bros. 3 would be a grand finale for the 8-bit family computer line. In 1991, Family Computer magazine ranked all previous Family Computer cartridges and listed Super Mario Bros. 3 as having the second best characters, fourth highest difficulty, third best game control, and was ranked the third best Family Computer game overall. In the end, Super Mario Bros. 3 would go on to sell 3,840,000 units in Japan, becoming the second best-selling Family Computer game of all time. With a successful release, impressive sales, and a growing legacy, the development team behind Super Mario Bros. 3 was ready to take the game abroad. When we come back, Super Mario Bros. 3 goes to America.
Super Mario Bros. Furikake 長谷園から新発売。
In the United States, the road to Super Mario Bros. 3 took a slightly different path than Japan. Nintendo entered the American home gaming market space in 1985. At the time, Donkey Kong and Game & Watch were the company's most well-known products. Nintendo took a full year to complete its national rollout of the Nintendo Entertainment System, or NES for short, which was a redesigned version of the family computer. Several of the best game titles from Japan were brought over, and one stood out from the rest: Super Mario Bros. The game was so popular that Nintendo began to include the game for free with each NES control deck, after which Nintendo's fortunes exploded, which led to the NES gaining a 90% market share by the end of the 1980s. The 2.5-year gap between Nintendo's hardware debut in Japan and America gave Nintendo a lot of extra time to prepare releases. Many American games were improved over their Japanese counterparts, and in almost every case, the release window was much later abroad than at home. A perfect example of this would be the American Super Mario Bros. 2, which was a wholly different game than the Japanese version. The American Super Mario Bros. 2 was also released in October 1988, literally at the same time that the Japanese Super Mario Bros. 3 was being rolled out. Nintendo of America spent most of 1988 promoting Super Mario Bros. 2, as well as other games, through its in-house publication, Nintendo Fun Club News, later becoming Nintendo Power. At the time, it was the only mainstream national publication about video games. The magazine helped Nintendo craft a certain image, part of which would be to downplay that all of its corporate decisions and all of its games came from Japan, and instead simply highlighted new releases as being exciting and fun. Behind closed doors, Nintendo knew that the end was near for the 8-bit family computer and NES, but that the 16-bit machine was not yet ready. So Nintendo of America, with a completed game in hand, spent 1989 rolling out a plan to promote Super Mario Bros. 3 in several stages for an entire year and release the game in 1990, by which time awareness of the game would be very high, and demand for a video game would be the highest ever. The first announcement of Super Mario Bros. 3 in English came in Nintendo Power Issue 4 in January 1989. Nintendo announced the release of an arcade machine called Play Choice 10, which was basically the NES hardware in an arcade cabinet. Players would be able to play selected games for a set amount of time. Adding more money to the machine increased the timer for a longer play session. In other words, Play Choice 10 was like a video game jukebox. At the end of the article, Nintendo Power told readers to be on the lookout for Super Mario Bros. 3 on Play Choice machines in 1989. No screenshots were shown, and no description was given. However, the back cover of that same issue of Nintendo Power showed an image of a Super Mario Bros. 3 box, which looks very close to what the final product would become. The second mention of Super Mario Bros. 3 would come in May 1989, simply saying that Mario could fly and that more information would come later. Despite the short blurb, the game was finished and on the streets of Japan for nearly half a year at this point. Don't forget that in these days long gone by, Nintendo Power was the only word that existed. However, the massive expansion of Nintendo's consumer base led to a wave of third-party news publications popping up. To make an impact, these new publications shattered the image Nintendo was trying to project, and scooped Nintendo on their own game at the same time. The debut issue of GamePro magazine appeared in the spring of 1989 and told the truth that Super Mario Bros. 3 was already for sale in Japan. These screenshots were the first that Americans had seen of the all-new Mario adventure. Electronic Gaming Monthly soon followed with screenshots and a write-up of the game in 1989 as well. Super Mario Bros. 3 then did appear as promised on the Play Choice 10 arcade system in the summer of 1989. In the offline dark ages of the 1980s, this was an incredible thing. The ability to play a new NES game, previously unreleased and unavailable at home, had never been done before. In a way, it was the first playable demo Nintendo had ever done. The first images officially from Nintendo came in November 1989, as well as a preview of a movie called The Wizard, which would have the new Super Mario Bros. 3 in the starring role. The idea of a film about a kid who was exceptional at video games was pitched by Universal Studios to Nintendo. Nintendo signed on and made sure not only current Nintendo games were prominent in the film, but let the word be known that the newest, biggest, greatest game was on the horizon. In January 1990, Nintendo Power announced that Super Mario Bros. 3 is almost here. The next issue in March 1990 made it official, with Tanuki Mario on the cover and a full, in-depth review inside. The wait to bring the game home was over. Super Mario Bros. 3 would hit American stores in February 1990. The game quickly became sold out and on back order at stores nationwide. As soon as new stock came in, it would be gone. Third-party publications reviewed the game, and each one received a near-perfect rating in every instance. Nintendo continued the marketing machine behind Super Mario Bros. 3 after release to keep the game relevant and let consumers know that it was out, even if you couldn't easily find it. In the spring of 1990, as Super Mario Bros. 3 was hitting the store shelves, Nintendo embarked on a nationwide tour. The Nintendo World Championships visited 30 American cities, ending with a grand tournament to crown the ultimate Nintendo champion at Universal Studios in California, almost exactly like how it happened in the movie The Wizard. Among the 100-plus games available for play, Super Mario Bros. 3 was a highlight, drawing the longest lines of any game there. McDonald's would release a line of toys with special themed Happy Meals made just for Super Mario Bros. 3. And yeah, if you were 14 and still got one, I understand. There were also tons of other memorabilia. Clothes, figures, stickers, notebooks, candy, and pretty much anything a Nintendo fan could use got the Super Mario Bros. 3 treatment. Then there was the Saturday morning cartoon show, The Adventures of Super Mario Bros. 3. Mario cartoons were already in syndication, but these new episodes would focus solely and in detail about the characters and events surrounding the new Super Mario Bros. 3. The show would be put front and center on Saturday mornings on NBC starting in September 1990. Super Mario Bros. 3 became the best-selling game of 1990 in America. In 1991, things didn't end or slow down. To combat the surprise move of Sega, bundling their brand new game, Sonic the Hedgehog, with each Sega Genesis, Nintendo moved Super Mario Bros. 3 to pack-in status with a new bundle called the Challenge Set. Super Mario Bros. 3 was also released in Europe and Australia in August 1991. While the NES was not as dominant in these regions, the Mario series was well regarded. In countries like France and Sweden, where Nintendo was more popular, the game received the same promotional treatment as America. The Super Mario Bros. 3 Challenge Set was released in European markets as well. By the end of the lifespan of the NES in the mid-90s, Super Mario Bros. 3 had sold over 7 million copies, not including the 4 million sold in Japan. Adding in the copies of the game included with the NES Challenge Set, there are over 17 million copies of Super Mario Bros. 3 in existence. While Super Mario Bros. Laid the foundation and Super Mario Bros. 2 kept things going, with Super Mario Bros. 3, the Western world had truly reached full-on Mario Mania. In 1990, across a single day, you could play the newest Mario game, read about it, wear it, eat it, watch it on TV, and rent a movie where the game is the center of the story. In later years, the game would be remade and reissued on newer hardware. Reviews of the game over 25 years later still praise Super Mario Bros. 3 as a fantastic game that has aged well and still feels as fresh today as it was the first time you played it. No other game has ever had such an impact before, during, or after release. The story of Super Mario Bros. 3 doesn't end here. When we come back, the legacy that Super Mario Bros. 3 has left in the last 30 years.
Mario! Mario!
Mario!
He's back. All you had to do was ask. Super Mario Bros. 3 from Nintendo. Now you're playing with power.
Yo, John, Mickey D's.
Okay, thanks. Ah! Whoa, boy.
Look who's popping into McDonald's. It's Mario from the new Super Mario Bros. 3 game. And when you buy a McDonald's Happy Meal, you'll get a Jumping Mario, or a Kooky Luigi, a Koopa Paratroopa, or a little Goomba. McDonald's Happy Meal. You can collect all four.
Super Mario Bros. 3 is often cited as one of the greatest games of all time. The game hasn't faded away like so many other titles, in part because of its high level of replayability, but also that Nintendo has not let the legacy of Super Mario Bros. 3 disappear. The game has been remade and re-released several times over. As well, many of the elements that made Super Mario Bros. 3 so great have been passed on to newer Mario games. In 1993, Nintendo took the 4 Super Mario games that were released in Japan between 1985 and 1992, gave them a 16-bit makeover, and sold them together on one cartridge called Super Mario All-Stars. While for the West, the game's main highlight was the inclusion of the Japanese Super Mario Bros. 2, which was called The Lost Levels. Super Mario Bros. 3 was part of the package. With improved graphics, music, and a save function, it gave gamers a new spin on an old classic. The 16-bit version was later ported to the Game Boy Advance in 2003 as Super Mario Advance 4 Super Mario Bros. 3. This version also made use of the Nintendo e-reader. a device that could scan data cards for items and stages used in-game or sometimes as standalone games themselves. For Super Mario Advance 4, Super Mario Bros. 3, e-reader cards would grant you power-ups from other Mario games, like the Feather and Cape from Super Mario World, and grant access to special stages you couldn't play anywhere else. The 16-bit All-Stars version of Super Mario Bros. 3 would appear again in 2010 for the Nintendo Wii. The games were still the same as those released in 1993, but the game was packaged with a CD soundtrack of select Mario music as a bonus. The original 8-bit Family Computer and NES versions of Super Mario Bros. 3 were re-released in 2007 on the Wii Virtual Console. The game was also made available on the 3DS and Wii U Virtual Consoles in 2013 and 2014. Super Mario Bros. 3 was also one of the standout titles on the compilation game Famicom Remix 2 and NES Remix 2, released in 2014, where certain challenges of the game put players to the test, seeing how fast each one could be cleared. In Super Mario Maker, released for the Wii U in 2015 and 3DS in 2016, players had the chance to design their own Mario stages for the first time, and a design scheme for Super Mario Bros. 3 was included, so you could finally make the game the way you always felt it should be. Super Mario Bros. 3 was then included on the NES Classic Edition and the Family Computer Classic Mini, which were released in November 2016. And to top it all off, Super Mario Bros. 3 is also playable on the Nintendo Switch Online service, alongside other classic 8-bit games. In Super Mario Bros. 3, several designs and concepts have reappeared in later games. The maps used for each of the 8 worlds in Super Mario Bros. 3 have been used in the mainline and most spin-off Mario games ever since. Super Mario World, the new Super Mario Bros. Series, the 3D series, and many other games feature an overhead, walkable map that shows you exactly where you are. As part of carrying on the world map tradition from Super Mario Bros. 3, treasure rooms, short challenge stages where you get a bonus upon completion, and being able to use items before entering a stage have become a staple of the Mario universe. In the actual game stages, one key mechanic introduced in Super Mario Bros. 3 lives on to this day, the ability to fly. While the Super Leaf has not been used as the power-up to fly in each game afterwards, Mario has had the ability of flight through various means ever since. The Super Leaf does return in Super Mario 3D Land, 3D World, and New Super Mario Bros. 2, as well as Mario Kart 7, and several other cameo appearances. Tanuki Mario reappears as well in Super Mario 3D Land, Super Mario 3D World, and Mario Kart 8, while New Super Mario Bros. U adopted the Squirrel Suit variant. The bosses of the 7 worlds of Super Mario Bros. 3 are known as the Koopalings, and were originally called the Koopa Kids. They make appearances in Super Mario World, Mario is Missing, Yoshi's Safari, Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, the new Super Mario Bros. Series, and the animated cartoon show, as well as being playable in Mario Kart 8. The Frog Suit and Hammer Brothers Suit do not make any significant return in a Mario game, but the idea of wearing suits for different abilities has evolved into the Penguin Suit, the Cat Suit, the Boomerang Suit, and others in more recent Mario adventures. Lastly, there's one thing that began with Super Mario Bros. 3 that has become a mainstay ever since: the Mario logo and font. The Japanese box and the title screens for all versions of the game show the title of Super Mario Bros. 3 written in a thick, blocky original font. In following games, colors were added, but the style has been the same ever since. From Super Mario World to Super Mario Odyssey, they all trace their roots back to October 23rd, 1988. Tanukis, treasure ships, and thwomps are actually real. When we come back, the secrets of Super Mario Bros. 3 that are hiding in plain sight.
Super Mario dans Super Mario 3 de Nintendo.
gran mundo de Super Mario 3.
Venciendo peligros y obstáculos, acabaremos con todos los enemigos del reino de los hongos y salvaremos a la princesa.
Super Mario 3 exige la garantía y servicio de Seito. Nintendo, la gran diversión.
カエルに変身、タヌキに変身。今度のマリオは変身アクション。スーパーマリオアドバンス4。エンジョイプラスパック。
Super Mario Bros. 3 is filled with tricks and secrets. Some are part of the gameplay, some are in the game design, and some are cultural. Of course, there are lots of places to score some extra coins, items, and one-ups. And you can even make a chain chomp break free if you stand there long enough. But let's take a look at the more in-depth and infamous secrets in Super Mario Bros. 3. There are several mushroom houses on each world map, where Toad will give you a power-up. But there is also a secret white mushroom house in each world, and they're pretty tricky to get. In certain levels, getting exactly a specific number of coins in each stage will trigger the white mushroom house. In worlds 1, 3, 5, and 7, the reward is a P-Wing, while in worlds 2, 4, and 6, the item is an anchor, which will stop the airship from moving around the world map. Here is a list of each stage and the number of coins required to trigger the white mushroom house. Every time your score increases by 80,000 points, the N-Spade panel game will appear on the world map. The game is played with 18 cards, where you must find a matching pair by remembering what icon is hidden under the cards. The N mark on the spade is a callback to playing cards made by Nintendo in the early 20th century. The Ace of Spades had an N in the center. Under a certain set of circumstances, you can also make a ship appear. The ship is filled with nothing but coins and replaces a Hammer Brother battle on the world map as well. This can only happen in World 1, 3, 5, or 6, and must meet the following criteria. You must have a Hammer Brother walking on the world map. You must finish the stage with a coin total ending in a multiple of 11. It can be 22, 33, 44, 55, 66, 77, 88, or 99. 00 doesn't count. The tens digit of the player's score must match the number of coins. For example, if you have 55 coins, the digit in the tens column must be a 5. The timer at the end of each stage affects the score, so if you're trying to time things out, an even number will not affect the score needed to match the number of coins. Do this correctly, and the Hammer Brother will change into a ship. On the ship, you'll get 168 coins and a 1-up mushroom. When you leave the ship, you battle Boomerang Brothers for a power-up item. The mark on the sail of the ship is read in Japanese as Takara, and the name of the ship is called Takara Bune, which actually exists in Japanese mythology. Each new year, the 7 gods of good fortune descend to earth from the heavens in the Takarabune treasure ship. The 7 gods bring with them amazing treasures, among them a coin purse that never runs out of money called Kanebukuro. Japanese myths don't end there, as the cornerstone of Super Mario Bros. 3, the Tanuki suit, is based on both Japanese myths and real-life animals living in Japan. The Tanuki is a small animal that lives in the rural areas of Japan and is known in English sometimes as a raccoon dog, though they are not actually raccoons and are closer genetically to foxes. In ancient Japanese mythology, Tanukis are depicted as evil, shape-shifting apparitions. But in the last few centuries, Tanukis have taken on the image of a playful, mischievous animal, still with the ability to change form. Tanukis are believed to get their shape-shifting power by placing a leaf on their foreheads, which has become the super leaf in the game. The statue that Mario can change into with the Tanuki suit is known in Japanese as Ojizo-sama. This statue is one of a group of guardian spirits known as Do-Sojin. These statues are believed to be town guardians and are often placed at the edges of villages to protect travelers. With this in mind, it's quite fitting that when Mario is in statue mode, he's invincible to all enemies, however brief. During the design stages of the game, Shigeru Miyamoto felt that the Tanuki suit and this feature was one of his favorite parts of the game, and that while audiences outside of Japan wouldn't fully understand it, he liked it so much that he kept it in the game. Another mythical being that found its way into Super Mario Bros. 3 and future games is Thwomp, known in Japanese folklore as the Nurikabe. These mythical demons often appear as impassable walls, often too high to climb or too large to walk around, blocking a person in. While people in 1990 who bought the game probably proved Miyamoto right, that fans elsewhere wouldn't really get some of these finer points. In the years since, games with a certain touch of Japanese culture have become some of the most favorite games of hardcore fans. Another point of Japanese culture that slipped into the game is that the nation of Japan itself exists in Super Mario Bros. 3. In World 3, the King's Castle is situated far off to the right side of the map, on a group of islands. These islands resemble the 4 main islands of Japan. The castle is in the same place as Kyoto, which was the capital of Japan until 1869, and is also where Nintendo's home offices are located. Mario is the king of that castle too. Or at least it looks like him. The secrets, the memories, the impact, the legacy, and the fun of Super Mario Bros. 3 have lived on now for 3 decades. To bring things full circle, I'd like to include this image. This is a letter written by the Nintendo staff to new owners of Super Mario Bros. 3, included in the Japanese game manual. The letter explains how Super Mario Bros. 3 was developed with fans in mind, how it was designed to be a wholly new game, and more fun than any game before it. That the game is full of mysteries and secrets that you should try to uncover, and for everyone to enjoy the game at your own pace, as fully as you can. That letter was dated October 23rd, 1988. Here we are 30 years later, and the message still applies for all fans, old and new. Thank you for watching. Please leave a comment on your favorite Super Mario Bros. 3 memory. Give this video a like, subscribe to this channel for more, and check out one of these videos from the GTV archives.